In today's video, I'll be showing you how to work this stitch, which is the herringbone single crochet worked in the back loop only. Now, I know it's a mouthful, but it's actually really easy to work up. I really like this stitch for its stretchiness and its look. So without further ado, let's get started. For today's video, I'll be using a 6mm hook and some bulky weight yarn. I'll list what yarn this is in the description box down below, but you can use any size hook and any size yarn that you have on hand for this. So to begin, I'm going to give myself some slack. And for the first row, I'm just going to work a row of foundation single crochets for row 1. Here you can do whatever kind of row you want. I just like starting with a foundation single crochet row. And if you're not sure how to work a foundation single crochet, I have a whole other video tutorial that goes into depth on how to work the foundation single crochet, which I'll also link down below in the description box. The herringbone single crochet worked in the back loop only can be worked over any number of stitches. So here I'm just going to work a foundation row until it's as wide as I want, probably around 15 to 20 stitches. So I'm going to finish this off camera and I'll meet back up with you once I'm done. Okay, so I've gone ahead and worked a foundation single crochet row of 16 foundation single crochets, and now I'm ready to work row 2. So row 2 is the row that you'll be working from here on out. So once we finish row 2, you'll just go ahead and repeat that. So to begin, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work, and note that this turning chain does not count as a stitch in my stitch count. And so for the first stitch, I'm going to work a regular single crochet, but I'm going to work it into the back loop only of my stitch here. So I'm just going into that back loop and working a regular single crochet. So that's it for the first stitch. Now for the second stitch and onwards, you're going to do something a little bit differently. So we'll still be working in the back loop only. The entire time we'll be working in the back loop only. But here, what you're going to do slightly differently is you're going to insert your hook underneath this leg of your first single crochet. So I'm just inserting my hook underneath this leg right here of my first single crochet. And now I can go ahead and complete my stitch as a regular single crochet. So I'm going to go into the back loop only here, yarn over, pull up a loop. So right now I should have 3 loops on my hook. Usually you would have 2, but because we inserted our hook under that leg of my first stitch, we have 3 on our hook. And now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 stitches. So that creates an extra little loop here for our single crochet. So we're going to go ahead and repeat that. So with my working loop on my hook, I'm going to insert my crochet hook underneath that leftmost leg of my single crochet. If you're left-handed, it'll be on the right-hand side, but because I'm right-handed, it's this leftmost leg right here of my single crochet. And once I've gone ahead and done that, I can go ahead and insert my hook here into the back loop only, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. So once again, I'm going to go underneath that leftmost leg of my previous stitch, work into the back loop only. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook, and now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So I'm going to continue that across my row. And the trick to this stitch is working loosely. If you work too tightly, it'll become very difficult for you to insert your hook into that leftmost leg of your stitch. So I recommend that you work as loosely as possible, and you may even need to size up a hook size or 2 to work this stitch. Just go ahead and continue working this across the row, and I'll meet up with you once I'm done with this row. Alright, so I've worked all the way across my row here, and I'm just going to pull up my loops so that my work doesn't come undone. And I want to show you what my second row looks like. So obviously this row right here was my foundation single crochet row, but this next row is my herringbone single crochet worked in the back loop only row. So this is what it looks like on this side that I've just worked, and if I turn my work around, this is what it looks like on the other side. So again, to begin row 3, I just work it exactly as row 2. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. Again, we don't count that turning chain in our stitch count. For the first stitch of my row, I'm just going to work a regular single crochet. And once I've got that first stitch, I can go ahead and continue working in herringbone single crochet. So to do that, I'm going to insert my hook underneath that leftmost leg of my first stitch, and then work in the back loop only of the next stitch and work it as a single crochet. One more time, we're going to insert our hook underneath the leftmost leg, and then go into the back loop only of the next stitch and work it as a single crochet. And you're just going to continue doing that to complete your swatch. And once you've worked enough rows, you should end up with something that looks like this. So because we've worked in the back loop only, we create this ribbed effect. And because we are inserting our hook into the previous stitch every time, we get these nice little ridges here along each row. I will say that your initial row may seem longer than you would think, but because we are connecting each stitch to the previous stitch, your work tends to shrink. So I highly, highly recommend that for whatever project you're doing, you make a gauge swatch, because this one definitely tends to shrink. Again, even if you think your row is really wide, once you've worked a few rows in herringbone single crochet, your work will shrink. So make sure that you make a gauge swatch, and make sure that your gauge swatch is larger than 4 inches by 4 inches or 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, so that you can measure the inner 4 inches by 4 inches and 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters in your gauge swatch. So this stitch is the stitch that I used to work up this beanie here, which, let's see if I can get it all into frame here, which I will be posting a video tutorial on how to crochet next week. So I'll go ahead and show you how to work several rows to shape the crown so that there's not any bunching up at the top of the beanie. But yeah, as you can see, this is the same stitch here, just worked vertically instead of horizontally like this. But again, I really just like the stretchiness of this stitch because it is a ribbed stitch, so it has a lot of stretch. My yarn here is a wool and acrylic blend, but if it was only wool, it would be even stretchier than what I'm showing you now. So I really like how stretchy it is, and I also like the texture that it works up because, again, it reminds me of 2x2 ribbing in knitting. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and make sure to check out my other tutorial on this beanie pattern coming next week, or if you're watching this in the future, it should already be out, and I'll link it down below in the description box as soon as the pattern is out. Thank you so much for watching, and happy crocheting!